In 1950, Venezuela was the fourth richest country on Earth. Only America, Switzerland, and New Zealand were ahead of it. 12 times richer than China. Venezuela, 28 million people. Colombia to the west, Brazil to the south. Its northern coast opens onto the Caribbean. Founded in 1811 as the Revolutionary Republic of Simón Bolívar, named after the man who freed half a continent. The largest proven oil reserves on Earth. The country that has won the most Miss Universe titles. Angel Falls. But you might not know any of that. Today on Salted Earth, Venezuela. A Pabellón Criollo that lost its beef, its rice, and the people who knew how to make it. To understand Venezuela, start with its national dish, Pabellón Criollo. 4 ingredients laid side by side, like a flag. In Spanish, pabellón literally means flag. Shredded beef, black beans, white rice, fried plantain. The 4 of them stand for 4 things the country once had. 303 billion barrels of proven oil, more than Saudi Arabia. Then iron, bauxite, gold, diamonds, cocoa, coffee, coastline, waterfalls. In the 70s, they called it Saudi Venezuela. After the 1973 OPEC embargo, oil prices quadrupled, and Venezuela became the richest country in Latin America. It led the world in whiskey consumption per person. Number 1. Caracas had so many BMW dealerships, it set a world record. Cadillacs and Hummers filled the streets. Plastic surgeons couldn't keep up with the appointments. When the Caracas Metro opened, the cars came with air conditioning. Luxury far beyond what the 70s expected. Foreign companies lined up for a piece of the boom. Caraqueños flew to Miami just to shop. Their famous phrase, "Dame dos," give me 2. If something looked expensive, they bought 2. 1 for themselves, 1 for a friend. There was culture, too. In 1975, in an underground parking garage in Caracas, a man named José Antonio Abreu gathered 11 children for a rehearsal. He told them they were making history. The next day, 25 musicians. 3 days later, 75. Today, El Sistema teaches music to more than 300,000 children. Gustavo Dudamel came out of it. Today, he leads the New York Philharmonic. 60 countries have copied the model. But in 1975, while Caracas was drowning in whiskey, the man who had co-founded OPEC for Venezuela said something nobody wanted to hear. Juan Pablo Pérez Alfonso, the architect of the country's oil policy. Oil is the devil's excrement. 10 years, 20 years from now, you will see. Oil will bring us ruin. Within 10 years, he was proven right. December 1998. Hugo Chávez was elected president with 56% of the vote. A former paratrooper who, 6 years earlier, had led a failed coup. He had charisma. He had a clear, burning anger. And a 4-hour Sunday TV show called Aló Presidente. And he had ideas about oil. In 1999, a new constitution. Nearly 72% voted yes. In 2001, the hydrocarbons law. The state's share of oil doubled. PDVSA, the national oil company, came under direct government control. In 2003, PDVSA workers went on strike. Chávez fired 19,000 of them. Engineers, geologists, refinery managers, gone overnight. A century of institutional memory in oil left with them. September 2006. The day after Bush spoke at the UN General Assembly, Chávez took the same podium. The devil was here yesterday. It still smells of sulfur. Right here, at this table where I'm standing. He smiled. He looked up. He crossed himself. It played less like the UN General Assembly and more like Saturday Night Live. March 2013. Chávez died of cancer in Cuba. His chosen successor, Nicolás Maduro, took power, a former bus driver who had become foreign minister. Maduro was not Chávez, and he had a problem with that. Just before his first election, he told the country a story. A little bird flew in, very small. It circled my head 3 times, landed on a wooden beam, and began to whistle. So I whistled back, and I felt the spirit of Chávez. Years later, the bird came back. This time it told Maduro that Chávez was happy in heaven. In another speech, Maduro claimed Chávez had helped, from heaven, to elect Latin America's first pope. Then, quoting the Bible, he reached for the word fishes and came out with something far more anatomical instead. He caught it instantly. The internet never did. You laugh. Then you remember this was the actual political framework. The country was governed on it. Then 2014. Oil dropped from $115 a barrel to $30. Venezuela had no savings, no sovereign wealth fund, just an oil ministry that had fired its own engineers. In 2018, a kilo of ham cost 1,480,000 bolivars. The deli scales could only show 6 digits. The price didn't fit. The scales broke. People were weighing money, not food. At the register, the card machines ran out of digits too. A bedsheet cost 33 million bolivars. People had to split a single purchase into 2 separate payments. By Christmas 2017, some shops stopped putting price tags on anything. The tags went out of date before the product sold. In early 2019, the monthly minimum wage was worth $5.50, less than a Happy Meal. A teacher's monthly salary bought about 12 eggs and a kilo of cheese. A family tried to live on that for a month. The currency dropped 14 zeros from its name in 13 years. Bolívar fuerte, then soberano, then digital. The zeros kept flying off, just to keep the paper in your hand. And here, the recipe metaphor runs out. These are real people, cooking with what's left, making dinner in the middle of the fire. In Venezuela, humor is a survival skill. Venezuelans say, "Para vivir en Venezuela, hay que tener un PhD. Por hambre decimos." To live in Venezuela, you need a PhD. Out of hunger, we speak. Meet the bachaqueros. They buy in bolivars. They sell in dollars. A human bridge between 2 currencies that refuse to talk to each other. A line in the street becomes a small business. When the gas runs out, people cook over charcoal. They call it caleta cooking. Every blackout turns into a barbecue. Software engineers in Caracas work for clients in San Francisco. They get paid in USDT. Stablecoin, peer-to-peer. When the official economy went silent, the economy went digital. The walls of Caracas carry the jokes the government can't punish. Memes spread faster than censorship. Cartoons say what the news anchors can't. In a country where the Bolivar lost 14 zeros in 13 years, the one thing that never lost its value was the joke. Not every oil-rich country ends in collapse. Norway found North Sea oil in 1969. Same resource, different country. Norway had a parliament since 1814, a consolidated democracy 155 years before its first oil well. When the oil came, the institutions were already there. They didn't spend the oil, they saved it. In 1990, Norway set up a sovereign wealth fund. Today, that fund holds $1.7 trillion, 3 times the size of Norway's entire economy. They treated oil not as income, but as inheritance. Venezuela found oil in 1922. Democracy didn't arrive until 1958, 36 years later. The oil came before the institutions. Then, it dissolved them. None of this makes Norway the hero. Norway exports its fossil fuels and its carbon emissions to the rest of the world. It has 5.5 million people. Venezuela has 32 million. Its institutions had 2 centuries to mature. The point was never that Venezuela should have been Norway. The point is timing. Institutions have to exist before the oil does. Build them after, and it's already too late. And no country is exempt, not even the rich ones, especially the rich ones. Let's put the recipe aside. Let's talk about who paid for it. 7.9 million people have left Venezuela, 1 in 4 citizens. The largest refugee crisis in the Western Hemisphere. Bigger than Syria's, bigger than Ukraine's. Inside, 80% live in poverty, half in extreme poverty. The doctors who stayed earn $20 a month. The teachers who stayed run classrooms with no electricity. The supermarket shelves look full, but people walk out empty-handed. They can't keep up with the prices. They just look, compare, and leave. By the end of 2025, 21 journalists were in prison. 111 documented press freedom violations in 11 months. Arrests, harassment, shutdowns. Doing your job here doesn't take courage anymore. It takes habit. The diaspora isn't one voice, it's 3. In Miami, the older exiles who left in 1999 celebrated when American forces captured Maduro. They wanted intervention. They had wanted it for 20 years. In Bogotá, in Lima, in Buenos Aires, the working-class diaspora who left during the worst years feel something more complicated. They wanted Maduro gone. They didn't want their country to become another Iraq. And inside Caracas, there are those who never left. They ask the ones who did, "Do you really know what it feels like to live an ordinary Wednesday here?" There are people who stayed and built something. Provea has documented human rights violations since 1985. Eduardo Torres, a Provea member, has been detained since May 2025. There's Caracas Chronicles, Efecto Cocuyo, El Pitazo, Runrunes, Cazadores de Fake News. When American troops entered Caracas in January, these journalists coordinated a 10-hour live broadcast so the world could see what was happening. Some worked from inside the country, some from exile. They're not heroes. They're workers. They show up. This country still has them. January 3rd, 2026, 2 in the morning. 150 American aircraft were flying over Venezuela. U.S. intelligence had reportedly been on the ground for months, patient and quiet. Within hours, Maduro was on a plane to New York. The death toll is disputed. U.S. officials put it around 75. Venezuela says more than 100. Among the dead, 32 Cuban officers. No American was reported killed. They're closing the books. But who paid the bill for the last 25 years? Venezuela didn't collapse because of oil. In 1950, it was the 4th richest country on earth. The oil was there. In the 70s, the richest in Latin America. The oil was still there. The oil never left. The institutions did. The collapse isn't a story about oil. It's a story about the institutions that were never built before it. The question isn't which country is next. The question is, which country will build the kitchen before the fire? And if you haven't built the kitchen, even the richest ingredients won't save you. And if you think this could never happen where you live, wait for Argentina. That's Venezuela. Built on oil, hollowed out by institutions that came too late. And still, today, fed by a sense of humor sharper than any meme. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Next week, we open a different pantry, Argentina.